Aaron Rodgers has been the talk of this offseason. Before he even decided to go to the New York Jets, everybody, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo Sports, nobody cared about free agency. Everybody was wondering, where was Aaron Rodgers going? Was he retiring? Was he staying with the Packers? Or was he heading somewhere else, the Jets? Some people thought he's going to the 49ers. He always wanted to be a 49er. That didn't happen. He's now a New York Jet. Are you surprised that the Packers decided to part ways with the great Aaron Rodgers?
No, I'm not surprised. The Packers are known for sticking to their guns when it comes to players, when it comes to personnel. I think Packers have been standing strong for the last couple of years with A-Rod as far as how they went about the draft, acquiring the players, bringing back to certain players that they think that they could have won a championship with, relying really more so on Aaron Rodgers and his ability to make other players better in order to kind of get them over the hump. I think the move to the Jets is not necessarily surprising because they're willing to sell anything in order to get a quarterback in the door that can help those guys win games. But I think at the end of the day, Aaron's happy. He's in a situation where he's in an organization that he feels loved. He feels the love and that camaraderie walking through the door, and might turn out to be a Tom Brady 2.0 like they did down in Tampa. So I wasn't surprised when he went out there, but it's different than seeing him in like green and gold.
It's still green.
It is still green, but 12 is 12. It's going to be a little bit different to see him out there in that number 8. Robert Saleh, he's all in on him. He's got a defense that's going to be able to support him. He's got young weapons out there that can do, and they're going to listen. Having Alan Lazard come over there, a young guy he's been able to help build his career. Randall Cobb that's going to be over there that's going to be able to help those younger guys with talent, play with Aaron Rodgers the right way, get in and out their cuts and their breaks the right way. The communication, it's key that they brought in those two guys right there because A-Rod is A-Rod. He can take 4 or 5 guys out of a target and win a football game. So it's going to be key if they understand and communicate well, and I think they should have success. But as we see over the last couple of days, once that schedule released, they're going to have a tough time coming out the gate against Buffalo.
Oh, we got the schedule, and we spoke about it early in the show already. We'll get into that with you.
No, absolutely, man. I think A-Rod, he's got a shot to come out and prove how great he can be. It's going to be tough, man, for both teams, for both organizations moving past this transaction.
Aaron Rodgers actually mentioned in his Pat McAfee show appearance, he was mentioning some things about the Packers front office, the way they've run, and maybe they're the reason that the trade took so long when it was supposed to be in March and it ended up being in April. So you as a former Packers player, is their front office like that much more uniquely run than some of these other teams? Obviously, they're a fan ownership team, but in your time playing there, did you see anything different?
Well, they're a great organization from top to bottom. They believe more so in the long play as far as the team, more so than the right now. They've never really made any trades or any moves or transactions from personnel perspectives that was spontaneous. It took a lot to get Julius Peppers there. It took a lot to get Charles Woodson there before that. It took even a lot to get Reggie White there. Those 3 Hall of Famers, it took a lot to kind of get them to wear the Packer uniform, but those careers turned out to be something really special, and they end up helping those guys win championships. But I would say when it comes down to A-Rod, they're not going to bend and break. They've had Hall of Fame quarterbacks for the last 30 years, so they're not going to change their formula just because A-Rod is starting to feel uneasy in the locker room. Although I would say if they could have did some things about going to get him some veteran leadership as far as receiving play, a lot of the times people fail to realize when he was successful, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, these were guys that they had a few years in the league. They had proven themselves, and they were valuable pieces in order for those guys to get over the hump. And for you to treat him like a LeBron James of the NFL and you try to just put Boobie Gibson around him and a few other guys, that's the results you're going to get. Alan Lazard's career is starting to pick up. You had Watson last year who really started to come on later in the year, but that's not always going to be the process, man. The way these kids are coming out nowadays, man, they're not necessarily getting taught more in-depth offenses like Aaron Rodgers is used to. These guys are coming from spread offenses where they have maybe 1 or 2 reads. They're not necessarily understanding the more complexities to the route running nowadays. So if they can get the communication right in New York with those young talented receivers, it's going to be like that Kurt Warner St. Louis Rams team, man. I'm telling you, these guys are going to score a lot of points.
On the Pat McAfee show, Aaron was taking shots at the organization, the Green Bay Packers as a whole. They don't know how to treat former players. They pushed out Jordy Nelson. They pushed out Randall Cobb. They brought him back because Aaron wanted him back. They pushed out Brett Favre. Now they're pushing out Aaron Rodgers. Do you believe that the organization doesn't respect the veteran players that have really put this team together and put this team on their shoulders all these years that helped this team be successful year in and year out in the NFC?
I don't necessarily say that. I just think that the Packer organization has been blessed with a tremendous amount of Hall of Famers. When you really go down the rosters of a lot of these great Packers teams, man, a lot of these guys are wearing gold jackets. So it's very hard for those guys to treat Aaron Rodgers any different than Brett Favre or any different than Bart Starr before him, because all of those guys were champions. All of those guys had an opportunity to wear the green and gold jersey, and they all paid the price. A-Rod just has to understand that tradition is tradition. Green Bay hasn't really moved the needle for anybody that's walked through those doors.